Shalom and good day all, and welcome back to the Super Sons Fortress of Attitude, to which in this comic review we're going to have a bit of a Super Sons reunion once again, care of Peter J. Tomasi. And as you can see here, I got all 3 covers, and a big thanks to All Star Comics, and also another place where I actually managed to get another copy of this. I won't say where just yet. So, to get started, let's jump in regards to the cover rating and do these covers connect in relation to the story. In some essence they do. So, starting off with the first cover, I give a 7.5 out of 10. I think the only thing about this cover is I think it would look better if Damian Wayne was sort of like standing up a little bit taller, because the way I've heard some people criticize this cover because of the way Damian looks almost like a younger than what he appears. But if you also put a little bit of the math in, if you were to put Damian standing up next to John, he'd probably be about the same size as what he is here in the second cover. And also the third. So, back to the cover ratings, a 7.5 for this cover on the left-hand side. I definitely enjoy it. For the second cover, I gave a 9 out of 10. It's probably one of my favorites. And last but not least, for the third cover, which is up top, an 8 out of 10. And we know that this is Super Sons, a Super Sons story. Even though they want us to believe it's a Superman and Robin story, it's still a Super Sons story. So now it's time to get to covering the internal art. So jumping in the first things first, here's some of the art around the beginning of the story. And of course we have Calix here in the Fortress of Solitude in the Arctic. And not in that trashy place where Brian Michael Bendis put it. I'll now jump to some other pages. And I must admit, I definitely enjoyed this conversation with Lois and John. And of course, I can easily guess why he made it 18 in this. Not only a stab at Bendis, but I'd also say a bit of a stab at Dan Didio because of what he did in ruining the Super Sons. And I'd also include a little bit of a stab at Tom Taylor because of his present treatment of John Samuel Kent. I'll now move into some more of the pages. I must admit, I really enjoyed this scene. As we can see Damian Wayne and John Samuel Kent getting ready to fly to the Fortress of Solitude. And here we go again, some more art in relation to the story. And again, some more art in relation to the story. Really enjoyed this in the story where the Super Sons get to punch Nazis. And last but not least, up near the end of the story, I will show the last page. And as you can see here, it does have John using his heat vision on it, on that cube. But I've got a little bit of a theory in relation to that cube, but it will come down to when I do the story rating. And last but not least, they'll always be our Super Sons. So, for the internal art, I gave it a 9 out of 10. I really enjoyed the story, and I really enjoyed sharing the pages with you. Now, jumping into the story, before I give the story rating, did we get any comic references? Well, as you personally know, I enjoy finding out if there's any comic references as to when these things take place, and sure enough, there were. And yes, even the talk of the sentience of the cube did come up in this, which was really interesting, and I'll get to that a little bit later. But first things first, the comic references that were brought up in this were Robin issue 3, Son of Kal-El issue 1 and issue 2, Superman. Now this is the Peter J. Tomasi Superman, issues 8 and 9, which also connects to the Hypercube, and also the Superman special, that issue 1, and last but not least, Adventures of the Super Sons, to which we learnt the sentience of the Hypercube. We had no indication of when this was taking place. We did get a fair idea that it was night, but we didn't get the exact time of night. The location, we of course had the Kent family household. We also had the Fortress of Solitude in the Arctic. One thing I would like to see as well is the return of the Fortress of Attitude, which showed up in Super Sons issue 10 with Peter J. Tomasi and Jorge Jimenez and Patrick Gleason. The cast of characters, we of course had Damian Wayne, we had John Samuel Kent, we had Lois, we had Kellex, and we of course had the Nazis, and we can't forget that Hypercube, which also has sentience. Now, I want to bring up a little bit of something in regards to the Hypercube, and also a bit of a if you look at the title of the chapter, Super Sons in the Magical Mystery Cube. I think Peter J. Tomasi is also letting us know that this mystery cube also has a connection to the magical side of things as well. And can magic in any way make itself appear, especially in comics, make itself appear to be destroyed but not be destroyed? I'd have to say the answer is yes. Even though we did see at the end where it appeared that John supposedly destroyed it, was it actually destroyed, or is that the Hypercube wanting us to think that it was actually destroyed, when in reality it still exists in the DC Comics universe? And I think this is something that some people miss. Sometimes we do forget these little things when we look at the title or a chapter of the story, because normally when these chapters or titles are brought up in relation to a story, it leaves a little bit of an undercurrent of something that could return or will return. So is it possible that the cube might be able to return, might be able to bring John Samuel Kent to being the young 10 turning 11-year-old de-aged John Samuel Kent? Yes. I understand that there are some people who would say no. That's fine. If you don't personally believe it will happen, that's fine with me. If you do believe it will happen, that's fine with me too. I've got no problem if you want to disagree with me. But this story was really fantastic. It's now time for the story rating, to which I gave it a 9.5 out of 10. And on top of that, we really need Peter J. Tomasi back. We really need Peter J. Tomasi back. I'd love to see him do a Young Justice with Damian Wayne, John Samuel Kent, Maya, a couple of others. I think that would be fantastic to see in the DC universe. Well, until then, thanks again for dropping by the Super Sons Fortress of Attitude, and stay tuned for any upcoming comic reviews in relation to the Super Sons, and have an awesome day.